Yeah. Okay.
So, well, thank you so much, Justine, for inviting me. I really appreciate it. My name is Stephanie Conkle. I'm a hypnotherapist in the States, specifically in the southern states in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been doing this for almost 15 years now. Yeah, 14, 15 years in private practice. So I just started off as just a typical hypnotist, like, probably lots of you guys, right? And just got the basic training and I had my advanced training. Um, and actually, Justine, when I first started, I was kind of staying away from all the woo-woo stuff myself because I was like, nope, I just want to concentrate on hypnosis. It's all brain based. I don't want to scare people away, and I don't even know if I believe in all of this woo-woo business anyway. I mean, that is the way that I thought when I started off as a new hypnotist. But then after years of experience and then wanting to know more and then keep going down that rabbit hole and just following that rabbit all the way
Yeah.
down and down and down, it was leading me to some more interesting and bizarre places. And now I'm firm believer of the, I'll say woo woo for lack of a better word, but no, I guess I would say the spiritual hypnosis and the spiritual side of people and the spiritual consciousness or the super consciousness, which is now what I just love working with the most in hypnotherapy. And I don't care if people criticize me for it because it works and it's beautiful and it's just so much like deeper hypnotherapy and it's lovely.
Yeah. It is. So, how did you stumble across? Because I know your technique is very different to what a lot of people do. How did you start going from the normal to? Oh, we shouldn't really call it normal, but going into more of the dialogue and setting all that kind of thing up.
Yeah, so
Or maybe you should explain what you do for people
yeah,
that
let me
don't know
explain what
yet.
I do. Okay, so I use and now teach this protocol called the Profound Somnambulism Protocol. And basically, what that does is that it gets your client into deep trance, somnambulistic hypnosis, meaning the conscious mind is completely out of the way, sleeping or dreaming or just completely out of the way. Sometimes they're observing, but if they're observing, it's as if they're observing from across the room, but the conscious mind is completely out of the way. So the subconscious is there fully with me and having conversations in dialogue back and forth through their voice box. Or I used to use idiomotor responses to talk to the subconscious through the fingers and get the yes or the no or the maybe, but you can only get so much information out of that, right? So I wanted more information and I wanted to have a dialogue with the subconscious. And, you know, um, I was starting to see that through my studies and just through my regular sessions, sometimes the subconscious would talk to me. Just what's the word I'm looking for? Just sort of like out of the blue. And I
Mhm.
don't and it didn't know how that was spontaneously, right? And I didn't know like how that happened. I wasn't sure if the client was faking or like what was going on. It was just like, okay, I know that odd things happen in hypnosis, right? Um, and it was something that I thought was like really interesting and cool. When I heard about direct voice, I started studying direct voice as much as I could to see how other people were getting direct voice hypnotherapy. And the way that other people were getting it was not a way that I was comfortable with, um, which was like, for instance, I studied a little bit of Dolores Cannon. I studied a little bit of Roy Hunter. Um, Dolores Cannon was bringing people into past lives, right? And to get the subconscious dialogue, she was taking people through their death scene, and they were having to revivify their death scene. And then when they became a spirit, then she would talk to the subconscious. So I was like, well, first of all, I live in Woodstock, Georgia. I don't get a whole lot of past life regression clients, or people who even believe in past lives or reincarnation, even though I was doing that at the time. But I was like, I want to get this dialogue. I didn't even know Roy Hunter was doing direct voice with his parts therapy, but that was the first time that I had heard it called direct voice, when he was getting parts of the subconscious to talk. Um, so what I thought to myself was like, there's a got to be a better way without having to use past life regression, without having to revivify people's deaths. And and it's got to be something that I can use on anybody, no matter what their belief system is. And so then I started workshopping uh, a way to come up with this. And on my weekends, I took volunteers and I experimented and basically asked my own subconscious, my own higher self to help me. And I sort of got this information downloaded to me, is, for the lack of a better word, I don't even know how to describe this, but just an intuitive knowing of what I was supposed to do next. And then it started working for me really well. And because I was having back and forth conversations with the subconscious, I could record it, and I would know exactly what the client needed. I would know if they had a secondary gain, what that was. Furthermore, the subconscious would remove the issue, right? Or if they needed healing, the subconscious would heal them, and the subconscious would use its own metaphor to heal them. And I could ask the subconscious, how are you healing the client? And the subconscious will tell me. And it is kind of weird and freaky at first, because when the subconscious talks to you, it's like the client is talking about themselves in third person um, point of view. So if I was talking to Justine's subconscious, we would be talking about Justine as if she wasn't in the room. Okay. But yet it's coming from her mouth, right? So it's a little odd, but I guess you get used to it after a while. I mean, I think maybe the first couple of times when I got direct voice, it was a little bit like, this is freaky. But now that I do it constantly, like almost every session, I use profound somnambulism and direct voice. So it's like not a big deal to me anymore. But at first I was talking to the part of the consciousness that I called the subconscious, but in my mind, the subconscious is different than how it was explained to me through my hypnotherapy classes. Um, the subconscious had been explained to me like it was a child. Okay, you had to talk to it like it was a child. Um, if you're talking about the personality of the subconscious, or it was the autonomic nervous system, right, working. And so I classify that as the unconscious, classify the subconscious as a personality, not as a child. No, we do have parts, ego states, right? And that's a whole nother thing that we can get into another time. We have ego states, and that's what Roy Hunter works with parts therapy. But then we have this very wise subconscious mind, right? And I use a couple of different metaphors to describe to my clients, like, who's going to be doing the work today. And so I tell them that I'm not going to heal you today, and you're not going to heal you today. Your very own wise, intelligent, subconscious mind is going to heal you today. And I just know how to communicate with it and get answers from it. Right. And I say, so one metaphor that I use is I say, imagine that the subconscious is like, well, first I say is, imagine the subconscious is like an invisible conjoined twin. It's somebody who's been with you your entire life, since your birth. This part of you loves you, knows you better than you know yourself, is always whispering to you, tells you not to go down that dark alleyway. And then when you walk down that dark alleyway and you get mugged, what do you say to yourself? I should have listened to myself, right? I knew not to do that. So it is your intuitive guide, but it's also very powerful. It can also, it also makes programs in your unconscious mind, and it can reprogram any programs that you have running. So we do have automatic programs that are running at the unconscious level. So I also liken my subconscious to my webmaster. So I say, I have a very beautiful website, right? And I can make cosmetic changes to it. So I can change the colors, I can add content, right? I can make the letters pretty, kind of. Right, add some pictures. But if there's a glitch in the website, right? If there's a virus that gets in it, if there's some bad programming with it, whether I'm the one that messed it up or not, or someone else put bad programming into it, I don't know HTML code. I don't know computer language, but my webmaster Scott does. And so I call him up and I say, Scott, help. And he goes, what did you F up this time, Stephanie? And sometimes it's me and sometimes it's not me. But I just tell him what's going on and how it's not serving me to have my website have these glitches. And this is what I need done. And I trust that he knows all of the more complicated coding to go in and fix it, right? And to add new programs or take away old programs, right? Override the ones that aren't working anymore. He can make my website stronger. He can make it look and act the way that I need it to look and act. So your subconscious is the same way. I don't know how it's resolving your problems and healing you and taking away your issues. I just know that when those issues no longer serve a purpose, it's always happy to go in and do the reprogramming. And it could do the reprogramming like that quickly. Usually it takes 30 seconds to reprogram. It could be the most, it could be a smoker who has smoked for 25 years. In 30 seconds, the subconscious can make that person a non-smoker. It could be anything. As long as you can communicate with the subconscious. So I was working for a while with just the subconscious, and we were just doing those sort of changes. And then I realized that I could go up another level of consciousness to the super consciousness, right? Or the higher self. And I think of that part of the consciousness as the soul, or the part of the person that is connected directly to source energy, right? It's a very powerful part, very wise part. It can do everything that the subconscious can do, but what that part does is that it tells us, like, let's say the subconscious tells me that it cannot heal something or cannot take away an issue for a reason. Because sometimes the subconscious says, no, I can't do it. Which is great because I have that on recording. So it's not like I've failed as a hypnotist. I couldn't take this issue away. The subconscious couldn't do it. But then I want to know why. Why can't the subconscious take it away? So then I'll call in the higher self to come into the forward, like, personality position of the client, so I can talk directly to the higher self. And I'll ask the higher self, what reason, why can't the subconscious clear this out, right? And it'll tell me something usually really profound. And usually what it says is, the client is dealing with karma from a past life, or the client, this is in their pre-birth contract before they were even born. They said that they wanted to go through this because they wanted to learn these particular lessons. So they need to go through it, right? So if they're going through some issue, and the subconscious says it can't take it away, it's because they're supposed to go through the issue at a higher level, on the soul level. But even with that, I can usually negotiate with the higher self and say, okay, well, do they need to, suffer for, so long, or can we accelerate the healing? Can we accelerate the lessons? Can we speed up this process so they don't have to suffer any longer than they need to? And it usually agrees to that. So, okay, I think I see some comments. Okay, so I'm getting a comment. Do you ask these questions telepathically or out loud using the voice for the... I ask the questions out loud, and I have a back and forth conversation. It's just like talking with a friend, which is very cool. And yeah, it is creepy when you first do it, but then you get used to it. And Justine, because you're a PSP, not only practitioner, but you're also a PSP trainer,
which I will be getting into more. Yeah.
Awesome.
So can I ask you a question, Stephanie, or shall I hold off till the end?
Oh no, go ahead.
So the client, when the client is answering, is the client answering in a third person or the first person?
In a third person.
So when you're asking the question, you're asking third person. So is there a reason why Justine is XYZ?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And then the subconscious will say, Justine is so stubborn. I've been trying to get her to realize this for the past 3 years.
I tell you, the first time I practiced PSP was with a friend, and I was quite new to I think I was quite new to hypnosis, but quite new to more advanced type of hypnotherapy. And I sat there and I tried it, and next minute this voice came out, but it wasn't just one voice, it was a group. And it was like, we are here today to help so and so with so and so, what would you like to know? And to be honest, I sat back and I was, one, in awe, but two, I felt like this little human wanting to ask why this person couldn't shift their last 10 kilos. Like, it was just like this most, it just honestly opened and blew my mind up like crazy. But at the same time, I was coming through with, what am I supposed to say to this? It is mind blowing. And then I practiced a few more times, and one of the coolest experiences I had was I was working with a guy who was the most analytical, what you would call a client that I didn't think it would happen with. And suddenly he was talking away, and it was for smoking, but then his super conscious or subconscious or higher mind said to me that he actually had a problem with his heart and it needed restarting. And they said they were going to do it, and they shocked it, and he moved out of the chair. But when he came back out a week later, he told me that he'd been walking and stuff and all his breathing problems were gone. I didn't tell him what happened. I just sat back thinking, this is weird shit, man. This was like next level weird. But yeah, that was only my first 2 or 3 times of actually playing with this kind of process. Yeah, it was I'd say mind opening big time, because you start to see reality in a whole different way when you play. Anyway, signing up.
Yeah, and interesting, because sometimes you will get the we instead of the I, and then I think that is a collective consciousness that is coming in to help the client or the soul. So it is very interesting. It's very yeah, mind blowing. It's turned my whole, like, I completely believe in a lot of spiritual things that I was sort of on the fence about before, but now I'm like a firm believer. And including reincarnation, and including that we choose who our parents are before we come here, and right, and
yeah,
just a whole bunch of it. Just again, just keeps bringing you down that rabbit hole. And the more you study like when you really study hypnosis and hypnotherapy, it's really a study of the consciousness, and not really a study of the brain or the mind. And the consciousness is actually separate from the brain. And that's something that I've sort of learned too through this whole process. Like, the brain is just like a receiver, antenna, is a translator of the consciousness. The consciousness and the brain are not the same thing. The brain is a translate. Now, you can damage the brain, and then that kind of messes up some of the translation, but it's still not the consciousness.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you mentioned earlier, like about 5 minutes ago, you mentioned, and I think I missed what you said, something about the difference between the subconscious and the superconscious, and you brought in the autonomic nervous system. Sorry, would you mind clarifying what you meant?
So this is the way I map it out in my brain. And this is all metaphor anyway, right? Because we don't really know what all this is. But the way I map it out is, so we have a level of consciousness that I refer to as the unconscious mind. Now, the unconscious is never unconscious. It's always conscious, right? But that's the autonomic nervous system. And another thing that I explain in my pre-talk to clients too, so they understand that the subconscious is going to do all the work, and they really don't have to do anything, but either observe or just allow their mind to float and drift and go away. Is I go like, when you get a cut, let's say you get a cut on your finger, you don't have to stare at your finger all day and say, heal, 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 finger, heal. You cannot consciously make your finger heal by looking at it and telling it to heal. But you're unconscious. You already have an unconscious processing happening, right? And your subconscious is already sending information to that finger to start healing on its own, like where you're not consciously involved, but and all you can do is observe and notice that it's healing, and you can see it scabbing over, and then you can see it shrinking, and then over time it disappears until you forget it was even there at all. Right? And they go, oh yeah, right. So that clues them in, like, yeah, you don't know how to make your heart beat. You don't know how to make your digestive system run. You don't know how to regulate your body temperature. I mean, other than, turning on the AC or something, but you can't do it from within. It's something that is already innately programmed, right, and innately there. And we trust that. Why do you trust that a scrape will heal without you having to do anything to make it heal? Why do you trust that, right? And anything can be healed. And Justine, like, you were saying, I had a similar situation like that too with a man's heart, and he jumped in his chair, which is real interesting to me. And I've had people get off of their antidepressant medications, who had been on for years and years and years on antidepressants. The subconscious removed a lump out of somebody's breast. Um, uh, some of the stuff is like I can't prove it because there is no medical evidence. But there was I had a man whose subconscious said that he had like plaque in his arteries, and so it was working to clean out that plaque out of his arteries. So it's really, really quite, fascinating what happens, and then they'll come back and they'll report to you. Now, here's the other thing. If I usually just have one main session and a follow-up, but sometimes I need more than the 2 sessions. And if I need another session because something is not going the way that we thought it would go, all I have to do is very quickly put them back in some profound somnambulism, and I tell you how to do that within like 30 seconds. Like you say one phrase and it gets them back in there. And then you just ask the subconscious, well, what happened? Why didn't you do what we agreed to do? And then they'll tell you. And so you're never guessing like what's going on, and you don't feel like you're an incompetent hypnotist because something didn't work. If something didn't work, there's a reason for it. And then you can know the reason for it, and your client can know the reason for it, and you can get it on the recording, so they don't even have to take your word for it. So it just gives you like gives me just a lot more confidence now. So I'm not afraid of any session. Like whatever happens, I know I'm going to know what the answer is. And I'll know how to work on it. And sometimes I'll ask the subconscious, well, how should we go forward with this? And the subconscious will tell me. And I'll say, well, does the client need more sessions? Or are we good? And it'll tell me either way. Like, no, we're good. Or, yeah, he needs to come back. So I never have to guess.
I think, Stephanie, you had I remember reading something, was it last year, where it was very, very cool and very, very, like, totally incredible, was that you had superconscious, high self, subconscious, whoever it was, email or text you, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That was a case where it text you, and then without the client's knowledge, to give you an update.
That's right. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I need to do that again. I forgot I'd even done that.
Yeah, did you? I can't even remember, because I remember you talking about it last year, because I don't know if you asked the superconscious to give you an update if it wanted to. And then I think it came through and gave you one via
yeah, I remember taking the screenshots and putting that up on the Facebook group. I'll have to go back and look at that again, because I don't remember.
To me, that's pretty fascinating, because that's outside of the that's like continuing, like the superconscious continuing the conversation with you,
right,
with coming this way. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so right. I think I just gave it a post-hypnotic suggestion that it would text me and let me know how the client was doing without the client's awareness of it. And it did that. And that was kind of neat is that you can just sort of experiment with it and see how far you can sort of push it, to the
Yeah.
limits.
So
But
Stephanie, do you have any, not the whole process, of course, but if they wanted to hear what the voice dialogue was like, I wasn't sure. Do you have it on YouTube, or do you have any
yeah,
the
excuse
voice dialogue part?
I've got some sessions on YouTube. If you go to my YouTube channel, it's not the full session because I don't, want to give away
The process, yeah.
secrets, but you do see the subconscious talking. If you go to Stephanie Conkle Hypnosis on YouTube, and also I don't know if this is it okay if I promote my
Oh, totally, yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
right now I'm running a special if you want to get the profound somnambulism protocol in the digital format, so you'll see lots of videos, lots of client demos, like my real clients. There's videos, there's audio, tons of audios of me doing this process. So it's normally $2,000, but right now I have a sale on it. If you buy it between now and December 5th, then you get it for, I believe it's $497 by putting in the coupon code is Cyber Monday 2021. Was this year? 2021. So if you put in Cyber Monday 2021, again, if you go to stephanieconkle.com, and you go into the videos.
You can put the if you want to attach
oh yeah,
the website address, it's easier. Now, Stephanie, if someone wants to experience a session with you, you are still seeing personal clients online, eh?
Yes, I do see personal clients online. I see them in person and online. And I think I'm being asked, do I ever run live trainings? So every once in a while, I will do a live training. I just finished a live training November 13th, and that's the last one that I'm going to do for a while. I may be training again at HypnoThoughts Live. Next year, I submitted a proposal. I don't know if they're going to accept the proposal or not because I've taught it for the past 3 years there. And then sometimes, they just don't want you to like keep recycling the same stuff. So I don't know if I'm going to get chosen or not. If I am, I'll let you know, or Justine will know. And but there's so much training that I have. There's so many videos that I've produced online, even this last training from this last class, that you'll know what to do exactly. You'll get I do have a script and I do have a protocol that you can follow along with. I do encourage you to get off of the script and make it your own, but I do have a script to help you guys out, in the beginning of the process.
Faye, if you got it, we could do a mentoring once you've bought the program. If you want to, I don't know if you're okay with that, Stephanie, but
oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, we could do
I'm terrible with pre-recorded stuff. Like I don't want to like strengthen a limiting belief, but honestly, like I get pre-recorded stuff. I have every intention to look at it.
Yeah.
I never get round to it.
No, I understand that. You'll also get put into a secret Facebook group, so you'll always have access to me in all of my other students who have taken this. Like Justine is a profound somnambulism master, so you can ask your questions in that group, and either I'll respond or someone else from the group will respond. So you've got continual support. So I don't just like throw this at you and then just like leave you to so you do get constant support. And I probably will do a live training again in the future. It just probably won't be within the next few months unless HypnoThoughts picks me up, but that wouldn't be until probably the summer.
So guys, do you guys have any questions about this stuff? Because for some of you, it's really a new concept or a new idea, and some people that jump on and start listening might even be quite mind blowing. That's why I said to jump on if you jump on the YouTube for people that are new, then they'll kind of get an idea of what the dialogue's like. or, you know.
Yeah, right. Um, I just put in, that's just my web address, but if you go to YouTube, it's just my name,
Yeah.
Stephanie Conkle Hypnosis, and you'll get a little taste of what I do online. It doesn't really give the total picture, but you can kind of get a little taste of what I do if you
There
go up
was
there.
a man in New Zealand called, I wish I could see his book right now. Anyway, there was a guy in New Zealand who wrote a book in the 60s, I think. Hypnosis in the High, Lawrence Follows. I think it was it looks like this. So this was written in I'm sure it's the 60s or even, and it's a book on voice dialogue that he was doing then. So it's interesting when there's books like this out here, because he was a Kiwi. I don't know if I haven't read it all. I think it was more like you said, Stephanie, a lot of people would do a past life regression and then go kind of between, and then the voice would come through that way. So I think this might be quite similar to that. But it's interesting because of these books, I've had people actually email me because they know that if I say past life regression, is there any way, you could, this is prior to doing PSP, is there any way you could get me to talk to my higher self? And they'll turn up with these, one guy turned up with 30 questions. And this was prior to doing it, and that was kind of like, but it's interesting because there are people out there that actually request it, because they've researched or they've seen this stuff, or they've even, I had someone that had an experience with mushrooms or something, or psychedelics, where they had this kind of experience with this higher part of them, and they were asking if hypnosis could kind of put that communication back in. So it's quite interesting, people coming through and actually requesting it outside of the.
And I've had people they wanted to know what their dreams meant, and I was like, I don't. Let's talk to your subconscious and see what your dreams meant, and then the subconscious will tell you exactly the meaning behind the dream. So
hopefully not my dreams, because they don't make any sense at all.
Yeah, mine make zero sense, and I have some friends who are pretty good dream interpreters, but then it's like, but it's also subjective, right? Like, how they don't really know what my dreams mean, but my subconscious does, because my subconscious gave me my dreams.
Yeah. The subconscious might just say, look, we're not going to even go there.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Have you got any cool stories that you can share? Like your coolest session that you've done, or coolest experience that you've had with.
The coolest
lots.
I know, it's like, oh, what is the coolest experience? I've had some really, had some really cool ones. Like I said, just like the lady that had the lump in her breast, and then just the subconscious dissolving that lump in the chair. Like, that was pretty amazing. Okay. So I'll tell you one that I had that was, I'll tell you two that I had that was kind of mind blowing to me. One was, when I called in somebody's higher self, the higher self didn't come in, but what came in was what identified itself as a deity. Okay. And this deity was speaking with a very strong Jamaican accent and was really loud. So loud that, I was afraid that we were disturbing people in the other offices around me. And what blew me away, not just that, okay, this person was speaking in a Jamaican accent, and saying all this stuff about the client, but then she looked at me and she said, "And what about you? Why have you been procrastinating on the book that I put in your heart to write?"
Wow.
I was like, because because I did not discuss this with my client, that I was even writing a book, and I had started writing a book, and I had stopped. I had been procrastinating on it, and I got called out for that. So that was pretty amazing. I did a demo at HypnoThoughts with some students, and I didn't know, you never know what's going to happen or what's going to come through. And the person's like angel guide came through, and also told me things about myself that that was pretty mind blowing. I've got that on the recording for you all to hear. Like if you sign up for the course, you can hear that session. But that was like pretty amazing. I think it's pretty amazing when it's like someone else's higher self can look at you and give you like a reading. And I don't ask for the readings because I could, if I were just, doing this on volunteers and they had time for it, but because they're paying clients and I only have a certain amount of time to work with them, I don't ask for their higher self to give me personal information, but sometimes they just spontaneously do.
Yeah.
In one session I had, and it's the people who I find are already very spiritual. That's when I get these kind of, I get the deities, or I get angels, or I get guides other than the higher self. And so I had this one lady who I want to say like almost like channeled Archangel Michael, but couldn't talk and started writing in the air. And so then I like brought over like a yellow notepad and a pen, and then she started writing out. And it was whatever Michael the Archangel was saying. I can't remember like I've got that on video too, by the way, because then I started recording it. And then when I woke her up from hypnosis, she was somebody who was able to observe the session and yet still be completely out of the way. And she said, she said that Michael had this booming voice that she could not talk because his voice was so booming that the voice like the voice could actually not go through her voice box, but she could intuit the messages and write the messages out.
Wow, that's cool, man.
So yeah, so if you already have spiritual clients, you'll usually get that level kind of what do I want to say, I guess direct voice. But if you just get like, your everyday average person, you'll at least talk to the subconscious and maybe their higher self. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
For those of us who have done SP Simpson protocol, what are the points of difference between this and Simpson protocol?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot. And the thing is that I've never taken her protocol.
I can share. So
okay.
Okay, so basically you're communicating with the same I would say the same consciousness, as Stephanie says. The difference is that the Simpson protocol is using ideomotor responses, the yes and no's. And so what the Simpson protocol does is give you because I train for that as well, it will give you a lot of questions to ask. So it gives you the questions and the direction to go. With the Simpson, with the profound somnambulism, is you're bypassing that and having a conversation, which means you can go deeper into the questioning of what's going on. So I think it's using the same consciousness, but in different ways. And what I find is, so you can get more it'd be the same. One's using ideomotor, so your yes/no questions, and one's having the voice dialogue and actually having a conversation with the consciousness. So that's basically the difference. Yeah. Does that make sense?
I think so. And both of them, I imagine, just from the name, but in both of them, you're in somnambulism, profound somnambulism.
Yeah. Right. And that's the thing is that, and I think of it as, the deepest level of hypnosis you can put someone into, and, depth of trance being a metaphor, right?
What do you mean, Stephanie, by that? What do you mean it's a metaphor, depth of trance?
Well, just depth of trance is because it's how we map it out, because the this is so much more complex than we can even put words to.
Mm.
But a lot of hypnotists will say there is no such thing as depth of trance, that you don't go deeper into hypnosis. And even Milton Erickson said there's not depth of trance, there's breadth of trance or width of trance, but not depth of trance. So I think it's a level of trance where you go to the consciousness, the self consciousness goes to the non awareness state, so that the subconscious and the higher consciousnesses can come through. And all of these higher, I mean, if you go even deeper than that, like all of these consciousness, I think is the client, right? On some level, even the collective and the angels and all that. And then if you go even broader, it's all of us are a part of this thing, and we're all a part of source, and we're all the same thing ultimately. And when you start talking to the higher self will explain that to you, like how we're all separate. This is all an illusion. And you can really ask it some in-depth questions, and it will give you some really deep answers that will, could take you your whole life to think about and still not, fully understand. So
with consciousness, and I don't think I've talked to Stephanie about it, I did chuck people on the heart math machine, and you guys would have heard this, the people there in New Zealand, because I've talked about it before. But what I found is that when people would go into deeper states of trance, they would go into this really coherent space, and the heart math machine would show those beautiful waves. The person's really coherent, it would have a high number. If anyone knows heart math, the goal is to get a nice beautiful wave, so that the coherence is like the heart brain, working together, and there's different levels, and you can work on it with this machine. What I found is when I put people into a space where super conscious or higher self or channeling would happen, it would present a different picture. So the picture on the heart math machine would be very high coherence, so that number would go way up, but the heart would then show an anxiety response. So it would go from big waves to very small, what you would see in someone with anxiety. But the coherence level would be very high. So there is a shift, there's a shift happening, which allows a person to go into that space. And I think I was talking to Larry Ellman, and he was saying that if you look at, because he was an engineer, I think, in the Air Force, and he was saying that when you do work with machinery, I don't know, because I don't know anything about engineering, but he said, oh yeah, that makes sense, because you would get that difference, and when you go up to a higher frequency or something, you'd start to get that connection where one would display something different. I don't know, but he seemed to get that really well. But yeah, so I have seen differences when we go into these spaces, which I thought was really cool. Like, I thought that was really cool. So there's a shift happening when people are in a space that this can happen. Cool, eh?
yeah, and I mean, and you see the shift is happening, and it's hard to explain. It's something that you'll understand once you experience it. But it's a very clear shift, and sometimes the actual voice changes. Like I said, that one woman changed to a Jamaican accent, but that doesn't always. That's rare that it's going to be that big, profound of a change. But sometimes it's just the slightest change, and you can really tell that you're talking to a different, I don't know, entity of the person, a different consciousness of the person, even the way that they're speaking, and not even like the timbre of their voice, but also just the way that they're speaking. So like when you talk to the subconscious will talk back to you like just like a buddy or a friend or something, like, you'll ask them what, why this or that, and they'll say, oh, because, whatever, the client's been lazy, la 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 la. But if you talk to the higher self is very wise and very gentle and very, why was Justine doing this, la la la. Well, she is so loved and we just love her so much, and she's learning, so you just get a complete shift in even the way that the consciousness answers you, depending on what part of the consciousness you're talking to. And what you discover is that it's all good. It's all a journey, everybody. Um, and whatever anyone is going through, it's part of their journey, and they have more control over it than they think, and they have more control over the way that they feel and react to it. And that's really what I try to help with, is like, yeah, we're going through this right now, but right, you don't have to let it crush you, right? We can approach it from a different frame, right? We can approach it from a frame of strength and wisdom and knowledge and fun. Even you can even make it fun, right? We can change the frame. It doesn't have to be oh, poor me, I'm the victim. It can be like, okay, well, what are we learning from this, and how do we bring this forward into the future, and how do we teach others about it, or how does this make you stronger? So even with things that the subconscious or the higher self is not ready for them to change yet, at least we can help them get through it more powerfully than they would have before.
Yeah. Very
Stephanie,
awesome.
did I understand that you said that you do one session plus a follow-up for most cases? Is that what it takes?
Yeah, and I always do a follow-up. Follow-up isn't always necessary. I mean, it's not always necessary to have 2 sessions. Sometimes just 1 session will do it, but I always get the follow-up because I want to know for myself, right? And if there's any issues that come up that didn't come out in the first session, I want to know what this will come up in the next session. And if they're great, then and they don't need, like, let's say, which actually did happen to me the other day, where I saw a man who had deep anxiety that came out of nowhere. He had a panic attack in the middle of a park where he was hiking, and he was by himself, and he thought he was going to die. And some ladies who were walking found him and got him to the hospital or something. But then he developed this phobia, so that he had anxiety. So he couldn't really leave his house. He couldn't drive. He couldn't go anywhere. And he would start to hyperventilate. And the only thing that would calm him down is he would lie on his bathroom floor and put his hand in the sink and let water run over his hand. And he would be on the bathroom floor for hours. And he had 2 small children, and his little girls would come in and put a pillow under his head and bring him drinks and stuff like that, which I think is kind of heartbreaking to see their daddy that way. But he really couldn't do anything. And then I had 1 session with him, and that cleared it all up. And then and he sent me a lot more referrals, because everyone in his family was like, oh my God, he's been like this for like 6 years. I can't believe that he got better in 1 session. So for the follow-up session, he had his wife with him, and she was crying because she couldn't believe it. And she had a lot of her own personal problems or whatever. And so I said, well, you know what? It took me like 5 minutes to put him back into profound somnambulism, to check with the subconscious, make sure everything was still good. It was still good. It's like I still have this like 90 minutes open. So I was like, you know what? I'll just use your session on your wife and just help her. And that's what I did. I just allowed him to transfer his session because he didn't really need it. And I just started with her.
So what did his mind reveal about the source of the panic attacks and the anxiety?
So the panic, so sometimes I'll get an explanation, and sometimes I won't get an explanation. Okay, so I don't always get the explanation, but I do always get the agreement that they'll take away that as long as it's not serving a purpose, right? I always ask, is the panic attack serving a purpose? I get that it did at one time. Every problem comes up, every issue comes up because it's serving a purpose. And that's usually to try to protect the client in some way. So like, I get that it was there at one time. Does he need it anymore? Does he need it anymore? No. Okay, well, if he doesn't need it anymore, you can take it away, can't you? Yeah, go ahead and do that programming now at the unconscious level. Let me know when you're done. And then, okay, I'm done. So I don't always ask what caused, because what caused it is not necessary unless it happens. Like, no, if it happens again, he comes back to me for some reason. Maybe I'll explore even deeper. But you know, I used to do a lot of regression, like regression to cause therapy with a, you know, and the client had to have a catharsis to do the emotional clearing work, and it was draining. It exhausted me. And we would, you know, we would find out what was the cause, and it would make sense, and we would clear it out, and we would do forgiveness work and yada yada. And I would just go home and take a nap, and that would be like the rest of my day. I would be so emotionally exhausted, you know. I could only do like 1 or 2 sessions a day, and then I was done. Like I couldn't do anymore. So you know, I decided like it's just such an emotional, and I'm an empath myself, so it's just such an emotional journey to do it that way. And there's nothing wrong with that if you know, if you like that and it's working. It worked for me for years. But once I was able to switch over to the PSP, then it was like, oh, I don't even care how this started. You know, you can remove it, right? Okay, great. Let's do that, you know. So
And so your sessions are 90 minutes each?
yeah, well, for the first session, I allot 90 minutes, and that is 30 minutes for the pre-talk, and then I just give myself a full hour for the session. But then because it's a deepening process, so it is going to take the full hour the first time, but then you set up a trigger word, and that trigger word will get them back into profound somnambulism like instantaneously. So when they come in for a second session, all you have to do is just say the trigger word. They'll go back, and then you can talk to the subconscious again and get whatever information. That usually takes like 5-10 minutes. Sometimes it'll take a little bit longer, because if they come, sometimes it's like I'll do a progressive muscle relaxation on them because I've got all this time. You know, and so I do like at least an hour for the second session, just because I don't want to rush through it, and I want to make sure that I've answered other questions, and I've thoroughly checked. And if a separate issue comes up, then we'll work on that second issue during that next session or whatever. If the same issue is there, I want to find out, well, why is that still there? Why hasn't it been resolved? Right. So I do like to have the follow-up session, because I don't want to just assume that everything is hunky-dory, send them on their way, and then, you know, get a bad Yelp review or something. You know, so I want to make sure. I need to know for my own, you know, mind, that they are in a good place before I send them out into the world. I want those good Google and Yelp reviews. So
I think a cool thing to do, like I said, Stephanie she still does see some clients online, and if people want to experience this, I would hook up with her and book in a session for something, because that way you can have, I think the coolest way to learn first, you know, just have an experience if you are questioning what this is like or what it's about. Yeah, I think I'll probably hook up with you, Stephanie, and get a session.
okay, awesome.
Delve into my craziness.
And you can also book with Justine as well, because she's also a PSP master. So either one of us, really.
Very cool. All right. Yeah.
Did you say you were going to be teaching soon too? Are you going to continue teaching the PSP?
Yeah. So the way I've been kind of rolling is just, if people are interested, is to do your online one.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's probably the best way for people to go. And then if you're happy, Stephanie, if people want to do a bit of one-on-one, then more of a where they want to have a play with a couple of people, then to do it as a more of a mentoring.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Because that way you get access to all of your cool stuff. And I think with this, watching all the videos and the immersion is the way to go, I think. Yeah. But if people want to learn with me, hell yeah, bring it on. I love teaching. Yeah.
Are you going to run a session? Are you going to run a live training, Justine, in the new year?
For
this?
Oh, if there are enough people.
I'd be interested.
I'd have a talk to Stephanie too, because there might be a way to have a live training, but also have access to Stephanie's training, whether we do it as, like I said, you buy her training and then maybe have a one day where we catch up and go through the process. Because I think it's, like I said, that the online platform is incredible when you want to have access to that and have access to her. She's right here, Stephanie's videos of her doing it over and over again, because I think that's really how you learn. And then if you did want to, would do it maybe a one day catch up together, something like that. But I can talk to Stephanie about how that could play out.
Yeah, absolutely. We can figure that out. No problem.
Yeah. Because I think that's the cool way to do it. Awesome. Is there an option for hypnotherapists to do with? Is there an option for us hypnotherapists to do this with you as hypnotists? I'm very interested. Teresa, what do you mean by that?
Sorry, that was so confusing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I guess I'm sort of alluding to the training, like how do we actually do it? You know, I want to be a client, don't get me wrong, but having access to Justine in my hometown makes more sense to me to see Justine. Nothing
of course,
personal need. So how do we, I guess Justine sort of answered the question already, was that if Justine did the training with you, or I don't know, I hope I'm not being confusing, Justine.
No, what my suggestion would be is right now, if you want to learn it, Teresa, is that she's got a bloody good sale from 2,000 down to 497. Right. Buy the online training, and then if the people that have bought the training want to catch up with me for a day, and we can just run through it together more as a fun thing.
Okay, that would work really well. And I just want to know, what are the differences between, because you've done them both. I've already done the Simpson protocol and used that 95% of the time. So this is slightly different to that, in that the super conscious higher self has a voice here.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, I think that they complement each other really well. So even if you've done the Simpson protocol, and then you learn profound somnambulism, I actually think that they can be a standalone. But I think if you pulled in the knowledge from both, my fridge, it'd be fucking powerful. Okay. So I actually think it's not about picking one or the other. You go with your Stephanie, like you said, Stephanie, you hear this all the time, you go with your intuition, but I think pulling them both together. So if you have learned SB, don't let it put you off doing profound, and vice further, because putting them both together and having works amazingly as well. So I feel a little. Yeah, I feel like I need one or the other.
Yeah. Simpsons kind of, I would like a little more than just the yes, no, ideomotor responses. So having access to a voice or a strategy for a voice, I think where I'm at, which is at the very, very beginning, would work quite well. Hi, Stephanie. My name's Teresa. I'm from New Zealand. How are you?
Hi, Teresa. I'm great. How are you?
Good. So I might look at purchasing that then. I live a bit rural and my Wi-Fi is a bit hit and miss. So can you reserve one of those? Yeah.
I'll send you the link.
Thank you.
And Stephanie's already put the link in here, and I put the. I think
I'll have to ask my super conscious why I'm so fucking useless when it comes to anything computers.
Okay, so I'll put the Cyber Monday 2021 as that special if you're wanting to do that too.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. I forgot to put that in there, but yeah, and it's also when you go to the website, click on the tab that says video training courses, and that's where you'll find the profound somnambulism digital training course. And what happens is you'll sign up for a membership, and and then you'll have a library of whatever courses you buy from me, and then like if you get the PSP, you'll be able to click on the PSP, and then you'll have a whole class that you'll just follow the videos, and it's pretty self-explanatory once you get there. And like I said, there's just loads of information and demos and tons of support, and you get to be a part of the Facebook private group. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so it's right there. So it's the middle one, the Profound Somnambulism Protocol. And again, just make sure that you do put in the Cyber Monday 2021.
So it's all in capitals.
So
there you go. So this is the
Yeah, that's the form. So if you just scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then you have a choice to pay either via Stripe, credit card, or PayPal. So you could pay either way. There's 2 different forms. You also have the option of, even with the 497, and this is US dollars. I don't know what it is, the translation of that into your currency is, but you can also pay in 4 installments as well. It gives you that.
There's something else in here that I've got. Where is it? I've got most of these, I think, but there was this here. This is something that I got first to when I started out, because I wasn't early into hypnosis. I would have been doing it for a good couple of years when I stumbled on PSP. But this PowerPoint pre-talk.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I've actually got quite a lot of these things.
Yeah, if you don't have a good pre-talk and you just need something that
I just bought it.
Did you?
I just bought it. Yeah. Because I need something really kick-ass, and I like that I can use your PowerPoint slides, and so thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And you can change up those PowerPoint slides however you want.
I'll put my logo on them.
Yeah, put your logo on it. You can, add slides, take away slides, whatever you want to do with it.
And I was also talking recently, I think maybe last year, about checking on a course with you two in New Zealand time, because there was quite a lot of courses coming up in the wrong time zone for us. But I think we started talking about doing something like that.
I also have another course that I just put up. It's my webmaster has not put it on that page yet, but I'm going to actually, as soon as we get off of here, I'm going to talk to him and see if he has time to do that today. But it's a smoking cessation protocol, and you get $50 off of that. It's $250, but you get $50 off if you put in Black Friday 2021. So it would be $200 US for.
So with the things like the smoking protocol, is that standard hypnosis, or is that what you would say with alongside?
That is
alongside
that's standard hypnosis, and it's more like waking hypnosis. So basically you're still talking to the subconscious, but the conscious mind is still alert and awake.
Yeah.
But you're still getting the results that you need.
Yeah.
So I do that more in a waking trance, and use some like NLP techniques and some submodality change work.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. All right, guys. Any other questions about this superconscious chat? It's so super cool. Like I said, if you want to actually see what it's like, jump on the YouTube, and then you'll actually get a real taste for what it's like when the difference between the subconscious and the higher part comes out. You can see it on the YouTubes, because it's pretty damn fascinating. It's pretty cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for chatting.
Thank you so much for
so
having
cool.
me.
And I might
it was nice to meet you guys.
Cool. And I might get you to do like a what am I doing? Like a podcast one day with me too, to have a chat more about superconscious stuff.
That would be fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And I'll catch everybody later.
Okay. Thanks everyone.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks, Justine.
Thanks, Justine.